Captain Jack Mason rubbed his tired eyes and stared at the star map glowing on the bridge of the mining vessel Prospector. His ship wasn't fancy or new, but it was reliable, much like Jack himself. At 45, with gray streaking his dark hair, Jack had spent more time in space than on any planet. "Captain, you need sleep," said Liz Reed, walking onto the bridge with 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to Jack. As the ship's engineer, Liz understood machines better than people, but she always knew when Jack was pushing himself too hard. "Just finishing the route to our next job," Jack said, taking the sip. "Thanks for this." "Talking about the ghost ship again?" Liz asked, noticing the side screen where Jack had been reading old reports. Jack smiled slightly. "Just curious. 3 different mining crews claimed to see it last month. The ghost ship, every spacer had heard the stories. A massive vessel that appeared out of nowhere, attacked without warning, and vanished again, leaving only destruction behind. Some said it was as big as a small moon, black as space itself, with lights that burned like dying stars. My grandfather swore he saw it near Jupiter, back when the outer colonies were new," said Tom Walker, the security officer, joining them on the bridge. Built like a wall with hands like hammers, Tom didn't believe in much, but he never joked about the ghost ship. Said it moved like nothing made by human hands. "Fleet says it's just stories," Jack replied. "Space plays tricks on the mind." "Fleet says a lot of things," Tom grunted. The ship's medical officer, David Miller, walked in carrying his tablet. Unlike the others, David had only been in space for 3 years. "Ghost ships, really? I thought this crew was above space folklore." "You spend 20 years out here, Doc," Jack said. "You'll see things that don't fit in your medical books." A sharp beeping cut through their conversation. The communication panel flashed red. "Distress call," Jack said, instantly alert. "Coming from Kepler Mining Outpost." Tom moved to his station. "That's odd. Kepler's not on any regular routes. They're way out there." "Playing message," Liz said, tapping controls. A scratchy voice filled the bridge. "Under attack. Massive ship came out of nowhere. Please, anyone." Static crackled then. "It's burning through everything. Oh God, it's coming back." The message cut off. Silence fell over the bridge. "Check fleet channels," Jack ordered. "See who else is responding." After a moment, Liz looked up. "No one, Captain. We're the only ship within 3 days of Kepler." Jack didn't hesitate. "Plot a course. Maximum speed. Tom, prep all security systems. David, get the med bay ready for possible casualties." As the Prospector changed course, Jack stared at the starfield ahead. After 20 years, he might finally see if the ghost stories were real. The Kepler mining outpost should have been busy with activity. Lights, movement, ships coming and going. Instead, as the Prospector approached, they saw only darkness and debris. "Life signs?" Jack asked. David checked his scanner. "Weak readings from the main hub. Maybe 10 people." The outpost had 63 workers, Liz said quietly. Jack's jaw tightened. "Tom, you're with me. Liz, keep the engines hot. If anything unusual happens, don't wait. Get the ship out of here." Wearing spacesuits, Jack and Tom entered the outpost through an emergency airlock. Their helmet lights cut through the darkness, revealing scorched walls and floors. This wasn't normal damage from an explosion or asteroid hit. The metal looked melted. "Something burned through here," Tom said, his voice tight. "Never seen anything that could do this to station-grade hull metal." They found the survivors huddled in a sealed maintenance room, all injured, all terrified. As Jack and Tom helped them to the ship, one man grabbed Jack's arm with surprising strength. "Did you see it?" the man asked, eyes wide. "Is it still out there?" "See what?" Jack asked. "What happened here?" "The ship," the man whispered. "It came out of nothing. Like a hole in space opened up, black as night, with lights like dying suns. It scanned us, then just started burning, cutting through everything with beams of light. Jack felt a chill. The description matched every ghost ship story he'd ever heard. Back on the Prospector, David treated the survivors while Jack checked the outpost's sensor logs. Most were damaged, but one backup system had recorded the attack. "Liz, Tom, David, you need to see this," Jack called. The screen showed the empty space near Kepler. Then, like a ripple in water, something massive appeared. The ship was huge, at least 5 times the size of the largest fleet vessel. Its surface was dark, almost impossible to see against the blackness of space, but patterns of light moved across it like circuits in a computer. The recording showed energy beams extending from the ship, cutting through parts of the outpost with frightening precision. Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the ship seemed to fold in on itself and vanish. "That's not possible," David said. "No ship can appear and disappear like that." "And yet we all just saw it," Jack replied. Liz was already working at another console. "I'm checking fleet records of similar attacks." Minutes later, they were looking at a star map with 24 points of light, all locations of mysterious attacks over the past 100 years. The pattern was clear. The ghost ship was real, and it was following some kind of path through human space. "We need to report this to Fleet Command," Tom said. Jack nodded slowly, still staring at the footage. "Yes, but they might not believe us. The ghost ship has been dismissed as a legend for decades. The man who was holding your arm, his name is Ben Grant, head of operations here," David said, joining them. "He's more stable now, and he told me something interesting. He says the ship will be back." "Back? How does he know?" Liz asked. "Because it didn't finish," David explained. "He says the ship was systematically destroying specific parts of the outpost, like it was looking for something. It only left because of a power surge that seemed to affect it." Jack replayed the end of the recording. Just before the ship vanished, there was a flare from Kepler's main generator. "It's coming back to finish the job," Jack said, certainty in his voice. He turned to his crew. "And we're going to be waiting for it." Tom frowned. "With what?" "The Prospector is a mining vessel. If that thing could cut through a station, it would slice us in half." "We don't fight it," Jack said. "We track it. The ghost ship has been attacking human outposts for a century. It's time we found out why." As the Prospector moved away from the ruined outpost, Jack looked back one last time. The ghost ship was no longer just a spacer's tale told over drinks. It was real. And somehow, Jack knew his life would never be the same. Fleet Command Station orbited Earth like a giant metal ring, its lights visible even from the planet below. Jack stood straight as Admiral Rogers stared at the sensor data for the 3rd time. "So you're telling me," Rogers said, his voice flat, "that the ghost ship spacers have been talking about for 100 years is real, and you have proof?" "Yes, sir," Jack replied. "The footage from Kepler Outpost is clear. Whatever the ship is, it's not human-made." Admiral Rogers sighed. "Captain Mason, do you know how many reports of this ghost ship we get every year?" "Dozens. And how many have any evidence?" "None, until now." "Sir, with respect, this ship destroyed most of Kepler and killed 53 people. It will attack again." The Admiral was about to answer when the door opened. A woman with short gray hair and sharp eyes walked in. Jack noticed the special projects insignia on her uniform. "Commander Kate Wilson," she said, offering her hand to Jack, "Head of Special Projects Division. I'd like to speak with Captain Mason alone." "Admiral." Rogers looked annoyed but nodded and left. As soon as the door closed, Kate's professional smile disappeared. "I've been waiting for someone to bring me solid evidence of the Phantom for years," she said, using a tablet to project a large star map into the air. Red dots appeared across the map. "Each dot is an attack attributed to your ghost ship over the past century." Jack stared at the pattern. "There are so many." "Fleet has been hiding them," Kate said. "They didn't want panic. But a few of us have been tracking these incidents. The ship you call a ghost, we call the Phantom. And I want you to help me find it." "How?" Jack asked. "With a new ship and a specialized crew." Kate smiled. "Your mining vessel crew already knows what we're hunting. I'm adding one more person to your team, Dr. Alan Green, the best xenorchaeologist we have." "Xenorchaeology? You think this ship is ancient?" "I think it's older than human spaceflight," Kate said. "And Dr. Green has some theories about where it came from." 1 week later, Jack stood on the bridge of the Seeker, a research vessel disguised as a standard transport. His crew had transferred with him, Liz checking engine systems, Tom inspecting security, and David organizing the medical bay. The new addition to their crew, Dr. Alan Green, was not what Jack expected. The man was in his 60s, with wild white hair and endless energy. He moved around the ship touching everything, asking questions about systems Jack barely understood. "Captain," Alan said, rushing onto the bridge with a tablet, "I've been studying the Phantom's attack pattern. There's a connection no one has seen before." Jack raised an eyebrow. "What connection?" "Solar flares." Alan's eyes lit up. "Every attack happens within 24 hours of a major solar flare from a nearby star. And I found something else. The Phantom only appears in systems with specific radiation signatures. Can we use that to predict where it will show up next?" Jack asked. "Already have." Alan grinned. "The Arcturus system. There's a solar flare predicted in 3 days, and the system has the exact radiation pattern the Phantom seems drawn to." Jack turned to Liz. "Set a course for Arcturus. Maximum speed." "Arcturus is abandoned," Tom said. "Mining companies tried to set up there 30 years ago, but left because of equipment failures." "Interesting," Alan mumbled. "Very interesting." The Arcturus system was quiet, with a yellow sun and 5 planets. The Seeker positioned itself near the 4th planet, hiding in its shadow. "Solar flare beginning," Liz reported, watching her screens. "It's a big one." "All systems on minimal power," Jack ordered. "If the Phantom appears, I don't want it to notice us." They waited in silence for hours. Jack was beginning to think they'd made a mistake when Alan suddenly pointed at the main viewer. "There, watch the space near the asteroid belt." At first, Jack saw nothing. Then, like a ripple in dark water, space itself seemed to bend. The Phantom appeared exactly as it had in the Kepler footage. Enormous, dark, with patterns of light moving across its surface like living circuits. "Recording everything," Liz whispered. Alan was practically bouncing with excitement. "It's magnificent. Look at the design. It doesn't reflect light. It absorbs it." The massive ship moved slowly toward the asteroid belt. Strange beams extended from its hull, pulling asteroids toward it. "It's mining?" Tom asked, confused. "Not mining," Alan said. "Harvesting. It's taking specific elements." He pointed to his screen. "Those asteroids are rich in rare metals and isotopes, not commonly found in our part of the galaxy." They watched for hours as the Phantom methodically harvested asteroids. Jack noticed how precise its movements were, almost mechanical. "It's automated," he realized. "There's no crew. It's following a program." "A program written by whom?" David asked. Alan's eyes were wide. "By the predecessors." "The who?" Liz asked. "An ancient civilization," Alan explained quickly. "They left ruins on dozens of worlds. Their technology was far beyond ours, but they vanished about 50,000 years ago. I've studied their artifacts my entire career." He pointed to patterns on the Phantom's hull. "Those symbols match writings found in predecessor ruins. This ship, this is predecessor technology." Suddenly, the ship stopped its harvesting. Its lights flickered, then burned brighter. "It's changing course," Tom warned, "moving away from the asteroid belt." Jack felt a chill. "Where's it going?" Liz's face went pale. "Toward us. It's detected us." "Engines full," Jack ordered. "Get us out of here." The Seeker powered up, breaking from the planet's shadow and accelerating away. But the Phantom was faster. A beam of energy shot out, not to destroy them, but to hold them. A tractor beam pulling the Seeker toward the massive ship. "We can't break free," Liz reported, her hands flying over controls. "All hands, prepare for possible boarding," Jack announced. "Tom, get weapons ready." "Captain," Alan said, oddly calm, "I don't think it wants to destroy us. If it did, we'd already be dead." "Then what does it want?" David asked. The Phantom pulled them closer, until the Seeker was dwarfed beside it. A section of the dark hull slid open, revealing a hangar large enough to hold their entire ship. "It's taking us inside," Jack said, watching as the Seeker was pulled into the ancient vessel. The hull closed behind them, with a sound that echoed through their ship. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Jack stood up. "Suits on. We're going to find out what this thing is, once and for all." As they prepared to exit their ship, Alan studied readings from a hangar. "The atmosphere is breathable. And Captain, there's power running through this entire ship. Systems that have been active for thousands of years." "How is that possible?" Liz asked. "I don't know," Alan replied, his voice filled with wonder. "But we're about to find out." Jack checked his weapon and looked at his crew. "Stay together. We're making history today. The first humans to board the ghost ship that's been haunting our space for centuries." The Seeker's airlock opened, and they stepped into the legend. The hangar bay of the Phantom was enormous, big enough to hold dozens of ships the size of the Seeker. Jack led his team forward slowly, their footsteps echoing in the vast space. Light came from strips embedded in the walls that pulsed with a soft blue glow. "The air is clean," David said, checking his scanner. "No harmful particles. Temperature stable." "This ship was designed to last," Alan whispered, his eyes wide with wonder. He pointed to markings on the floor. "These are predecessor symbols. I recognize some from ruins on Mars and Europa." "Can you read them?" Jack asked. "Some. This one means entrance or beginning." Alan pointed ahead. "And those arrows are pointing us further in." Tom gripped his weapon tighter. "Could be a trap. If this ship wanted us dead, we would be all ready," Jack replied. "Let's follow the arrows." They walked through a doorway that opened automatically as they approached. Beyond was a corridor that seemed to stretch endlessly, curving slightly upward. "We're heading toward the center of the ship," Liz said, consulting her scanner. "The power signatures are strongest there." As they walked, Alan touched the walls, studying the material. "This isn't metal as we understand it. It's some kind of composite that can repair itself." "Self-healing ships?" Tom asked. "That would explain how it's survived for thousands of years." They passed rooms filled with machinery beyond their understanding. In one vast chamber, they saw automated systems harvesting materials from the asteroids they'd observed earlier, breaking them down and transporting the elements deeper into the ship. "It's building something," Liz said, watching the process. "These are manufacturing systems." After walking for nearly an hour, they'd reached a massive circular door. Unlike the others, this one didn't open automatically. "Now what?" David asked. Alan studied the symbols around the door. "It's asking for verification, authentication. The translation isn't exact." Jack stepped forward. "We come as friends," he said clearly. "We want to understand." For a moment, nothing happened. Then symbols on the door began to glow, changing from blue to green. With a sound like a deep breath, the door slid open. They entered a spherical room with a platform in the center. All around them, walls displayed images of space, stars, planets, galaxies, moving as if they were flying through the universe. "It's a command center," Liz said. Suddenly, the images around them froze. A beam of light shot down from the ceiling, stopping a few feet from the floor. The light took shape, forming a figure that looked almost human, but taller, with elongated limbs and a head slightly too large. It glowed blue, transparent enough to see through. A hologram, Jack breathed. The figure spoke in a language none of them understood, musical and complex. Alan stepped forward, excitement overcoming caution. "We don't understand your language," he said clearly. The hologram tilted its head. Then the room hummed. Screens around them flashed with symbols, cycling through what appeared to be different languages. "It's searching its database," Alan realized, trying to find a way to communicate. After several minutes, the hologram spoke again, this time in broken, oddly accented English. "Visitors. Unexpected. Purpose. Inquiry." Jack moved forward. "My name is Captain Jack Mason. We're humans from Earth. We want to understand why your ship has been attacking our outposts." The hologram flickered. "Not attack. Function. Search. Identification. Error." Alan turned to Jack excitedly. "It's an artificial intelligence system, and I think it's been making mistakes. Function. Defense," the hologram continued. "Mission. Protection." "Protection from what?" Jack asked. The hologram waved a hand, and the images around them changed. They saw creatures of darkness, moving between stars, their bodies like living shadows. Where they passed, stars dimmed and died. "Void Eaters," the hologram said. "They come soon." Alan's face went pale. Void Eaters, there are references to these in predecessor ruins. Creatures that consume energy. The predecessors fought a war against them. "And lost?" Tom asked. "Unknown," Alan replied. "The records just end." The hologram flickered again, more severely this time. Parts of its form broke apart into pixels before reforming. "System. Degrading. Time. Long. Repairs. Necessary." Liz studied nearby screens showing ship diagnostics. Though she couldn't read the language, the red indicators were universal. "The AI is breaking down," she said. "After thousands of years, its systems are corrupting." "That explains the attacks," David said. "It's mistaking our energy signatures for these Void Eaters." Jack addressed the hologram again. "We're not your enemy. We can help repair your systems." The hologram's form stabilized slightly. "Help. Accepted. Warning. Danger." Suddenly, alarms sounded throughout the ship. The hologram expanded, showing a map of the Phantom. A section near the core was flashing red. "Final protocol. Initiated. Cannot. Stop." "What final protocol?" Jack demanded. "Destruction. Necessary. Void Eaters. Detected." The ship trembled beneath their feet. "It thinks we're the Void Eaters," Alan said urgently. "It's activated some kind of self-destruct." "How do we stop it?" Jack asked the hologram. "Core. Repair. Eye center. There." The hologram pointed to a location on the map. "Hurry." "How long do we have?" Tom asked. The hologram's form became more unstable. 3 hours. Then, explosion. "System. Will destroy. All." Jack turned to his crew. "Liz, you and Alan head to the AI core. See if you can repair it enough to stop this self-destruct. Tom, David, come with me to the engine room. Maybe we can disable it manually." As they prepared to split up, the hologram spoke once more. "Caution. Truth. Void Eaters. Real. Coming. Soon." The hologram pointed to a display showing the edge of the galaxy. Dark shapes moved there, just as they had in the earlier vision. "The Void Eaters are actually real?" David asked. "This isn't just a malfunction." "Arrival. Calculated. 300 days." Jack looked at the display, then at his crew. The ghost ship wasn't just a legend. It wasn't just a malfunctioning ancient vessel. It was a warning, perhaps the only warning humanity would get. "First things first," Jack said firmly. "We stop this ship from destroying itself and taking us with it. Then we worry about the Void Eaters." As they separated, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they had stumbled into something much bigger than a ghost story. The Phantom wasn't haunting human space, it was protecting it. And now they had to save the ancient guardian before it was too late. 3 hours, he reminded his team. Let's move. The corridors of the Phantom seemed endless as Liz and Alan rushed toward the AI core. Every few minutes, the ship would shudder, and more warning lights would flash along the walls. How exactly are we supposed to repair an AI system we don't understand? Liz asked, breathing hard as they ran. Alan's eyes gleamed with excitement despite the danger. The predecessors built their systems with amazing redundancies. The AI is corrupted, not broken. If we can access its base programming, we might be able to clear the errors. They reached a sealed door marked with symbols that glowed red. Alan studied them, his fingers tracing the patterns. This says central processing, or possibly brain room, he said. But it's locked down. Liz examined the control panel. It looks like it needs some kind of key. Alan pulled out a small device. Good thing I've been studying predecessor technology for 30 years. He connected his device to the panel. This contains translations of every predecessor symbol we've ever found. Let's hope it's enough. Meanwhile, Jack, Tom, and David made their way down to the engine section. The deeper they went, the hotter it became. Whatever powers this ship, it's not like anything we use, Tom said, checking his scanner. The energy readings are off the charts. They entered a vast chamber where a sphere of swirling blue energy floated in a containment field. Beams of light shot from it into tubes that ran throughout the ship. Is that a small star? David asked, amazed. Jack checked the time. 2 hours left. We need to find a way to shut this down. They spread out, examining control panels around the chamber. Tom found what looked like a main console. Captain, I think this might control the power distribution, he called. Jack joined him, studying the unfamiliar controls. If we shut down power to the wrong systems, we could make things worse. Or we could kill the AI completely, David added. And it's the only thing that knows about these Void Eaters. Jack made a decision. We wait. Give Liz and Alan time to repair the AI. We'll only try to shut down the engines if they fail. Back at the AI core, Alan had managed to open the door. Inside was a room filled with crystal columns, each pulsing with light. In the center stood a pedestal with what looked like a diamond the size of a human head, glowing with internal fire. The AI's quantum processor, Alan whispered reverently, more advanced than anything we've ever built. Liz approached it cautiously. How do we interface with it? Before Alan could answer, the hologram they'd seen earlier appeared, flickering badly now. Repair, possible. Place, hands, on crystal. Liz looked at Alan uncertainly. It wants us to touch the main processor, Alan said. I think it's going to guide us. Is that safe? Liz asked. Alan shrugged. We have less than 2 hours before this ship explodes. Safe isn't really an option. Together, they placed their hands on the crystal. Immediately, Liz gasped as information flooded her mind. Streams of code, calculations, memory fragments from thousands of years. I can see the corruption, she said, her eyes wide but unfocused. It's like a virus in the logic systems. The ship is interpreting all energy signatures as threats. Alan's face was tight with concentration. The core programming is still intact. We need to reset certain parameters. A hologram spoke again, its voice clearer now as it connected directly to their minds. Calibration required. Human patterns, different from Void Eaters. Must learn difference. Through the mental link, Liz sent information about human technology, energy usage, and settlement patterns. The AI absorbed this, comparing it to its ancient databases. Processing, updating, error correcting. In the engine room, Jack checked the time again. 1 hour left. Any word from Liz and Alan? Tom shook his head. Nothing. Communications might be blocked by whatever's powering this ship. Suddenly, the ship lurched violently, throwing them to the floor. The blue energy sphere pulsed brighter. "That can't be good," David said. "Final sequence initiating," a voice announced in clear English throughout the ship. "Stellar conversion commencing." "What does that mean?" Tom asked. Jack's face went pale as he looked at the energy sphere. "I think this ship is about to create some kind of star explosion." In the AI core, Liz and Alan were still connected to the processor when the ship lurched. "What's happening?" Liz asked through the mental link. The AI responded, "Its presence stronger now. Final protocol activated. Cannot be stopped through normal means. Must complete full system reset." "How do we do that?" Alan asked urgently. "Transfer, temporary control, to humans. Shutdown, restart." Alan looked at Liz. "It wants to transfer control of the ship to us while it reboots. Can we handle that? Do we have a choice?" The AI continued. "Warning. Ship defenses. Will deactivate. Weapons. Offline. Vulnerable. During reset." "How long will the reset take?" Liz asked. 17 minutes. Alan nodded. "Do it." The crystal under their hands pulsed once, blindingly bright. Then the lights throughout the room dimmed to emergency levels. "Transfer complete," the AI said, its voice fading. "Commencing shutdown. Goodbye." The hologram vanished. The crystal went dark. Liz discovered she could feel the ship now, its systems, its status, all flowing into her mind. "The self-destruct is still counting down," she said urgently. The AI transferred control but couldn't stop the sequence. "We need to find the abort command." Alan closed his eyes, focusing on the information flowing through the mental link. "There. Weapons control. The self-destruct is tied to the main weapon system." Liz followed his guidance, mentally tracing pathways through the ship's systems until she found what they needed. "Got it." Attempting to abort. In the engine room, Jack watched as the energy sphere began to pulse rhythmically. 30 minutes left, Tom said grimly. Suddenly, the sphere's pulsing slowed. The red warning lights changed to yellow, then green. "Self-destruct sequence aborted," announced a new voice. Liz's voice, coming from the ship's communication system. "Captain, we did it. We have control of the ship." Relief flooded through Jack. "Good work. What's the status of the AI?" "Rebooting," Alan's voice replied. "But there's a problem. When the AI shut down, it also disabled the ship's defensive systems, and we're detecting something approaching. Fast." "What is it?" Jack asked, already moving toward the exit. There was a pause before Alan answered, his voice tight with fear. "A Void Eater. A real one. And it's heading straight for us." Jack broke into a run, Tom and David behind him. "How long until the AI comes back online?" 10 minutes, Liz replied. "But the Void Eater will reach us in 5. As they raced back through the ship, Jack realized the ghost ship hadn't been the threat all along. It had been humanity's unknown protector. And now, with its defenses down, they were about to face the real enemy it had been guarding against for thousands of years. "Get to the bridge," he ordered. "If that thing reaches us before the AI reboots, we'll have to fight it ourselves." Jack raced onto the bridge of the Phantom, Tom and David right behind him. Through the massive viewport, space looked normal, peaceful even. But Jack knew better. "Where is it?" he asked, scanning the darkness. Liz and Alan were already there, their hands moving over control panels that somehow they now understood. "There." Alan pointed to a section of seemingly empty space. "The sensors can detect it, but it's almost invisible to the eye." Jack stared where Alan pointed. At first, he saw nothing. Then he noticed a patch of space where no stars shone, a moving darkness that seemed to swallow light. "That's a Void Eater?" Tom asked, his voice hushed. "Yes," Alan replied. "A creature that feeds on energy. Stars, planets, technology, anything with power. How do we fight it? David asked. Liz looked up from her console, face grim. We can't. Not until the AI reboots and weapons come back online. How long? Jack demanded. 4 minutes until the AI returns. 2 minutes until that thing reaches us. Jack studied the massive control room. This ship had fought these creatures before. There had to be something they could use. The ship harvests energy, right? He asked suddenly. From asteroids, from solar flares. Yes, Alan confirmed. It collects and stores energy to power its systems and weapons. Then we have energy to spare, Jack said, an idea forming. Liz, can you access the ship's energy reserves? Liz closed her eyes, connecting with the ship's systems through the mental link. Yes, but what? These void eaters are attracted to energy, correct? Jack continued. So let's give it something to chase. A distraction. Understanding dawned on Alan's face. Like a decoy. Jack nodded. Exactly. Can we load energy into something we can launch? One of the asteroids in the cargo hold, maybe. Yes, Liz said, eyes still closed as she navigated the ship's systems mentally. There's a launch system for probes. I can redirect power to one, make it shine like a small star. Do it, Jack ordered. How much time? Void Eater will reach us in 90 seconds, Tom reported, watching the sensors. Preparing probe now, Liz said, her voice strained with concentration. Charging it with energy from the reserves. On the screens, they could see a small probe in a launch bay beginning to glow with power. Brighter and brighter it shone, until it was painful to look at directly. Probe ready, Liz announced. Launching in 3, 2, 1. The probe shot out from the Phantom, a small star streaking away from the ship. Almost immediately, the dark patch in space changed course, following the energy-rich bait. It's working, David exclaimed. For now, Jack cautioned. How long until I restart? 2 minutes, Alan replied. But the probe won't keep the Void Eater distracted for long. Jack watched the view screen as the Void Eater pursued the probe. The creature was faster than he expected, gaining on the bright decoy rapidly. It's going to catch the probe before the AI returns, Tom said. Jack made a decision. Liz, can you access the engines? Get us moving. I think so, she replied. Where to? Toward the sun, Jack said. Maximum speed. The sun, David asked, alarmed. Will burn up. The Phantom has harvested solar energy for centuries, Jack explained. It can handle the heat, and if I'm right about these Void Eaters, the sun will be like a feast it can't resist. Liz guided the ship toward Arcturus. Behind them, the Void Eater consumed the probe, then changed direction, once again heading for the Phantom. It's coming back, Tom warned. And it's faster now. The probe gave it energy, Alan realized. Made it stronger. 1 minute to AI reboot, Liz reported. We're approaching the sun's corona. The viewport dimmed automatically as the brilliant light of Arcturus filled the screen. Heat warnings sounded throughout the ship. The Void Eater is still coming, Tom said. But it's slowing. I think the radiation from the sun is affecting it. 30 seconds to AI reboot, Liz counted. The ship shuddered as they entered the sun's outer atmosphere. Even with the Phantom's advanced shielding, the heat was incredible. We can't stay here long, Alan warned. We don't need to, Jack replied, watching as the Void Eater hesitated at the edge of the corona. It seemed torn between pursuing them and feeding on the sun itself. AI reboot complete in 3, 2, 1. The lights on the bridge brightened. Screens that had been dark came to life. The hologram appeared, clearer than before, standing tall and calm. Restart successful, it announced. All systems operational. Threat detected. Void Eater Class 3. The hologram turned to Jack. Thank you, humans. Corruption cleared. Weapons online. Can you destroy that thing? Jack asked, pointing to the Void Eater. Affirmative. Moving to engage. The Phantom turned, powerful engines pushing it out of the corona toward the waiting Void Eater. Weapon ports opened along the hull. Suggest you brace for combat, the hologram advised. What followed was unlike any battle Jack had ever seen. The Phantom fired beams of concentrated light at the Void Eater, which twisted and writhed as the energy cut through its darkness. The creature fought back, tendrils of shadow trying to wrap around the ship, seeking to drain its power. For 10 minutes they fought, the Phantom dancing around the creature, its weapons precise and devastating. Finally, with one massive energy pulse, the ship tore the Void Eater apart. The darkness scattered, then faded away. Threat eliminated, the hologram announced, scanning for additional hostiles. None detected. Jack let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Is that it? We won. The hologram turned to him. This battle, yes. But war approaching. Void Eater colony detected at Galaxy Edge. Arrival estimated in 300 days. A colony? How many? Alan asked. Thousands. Silence fell over the bridge as the implications sank in. We need to warn Earth, Jack said finally. Prepare defenses. Insufficient time, the hologram replied. Human technology inadequate against Void Eater swarm. Then what do we do? Liz asked. The hologram studied them, its expression thoughtful. Proposal. Alliance. Humans assist in repairing remaining damage to Phantom. Phantom provides defense technology, knowledge. You want us to help you fight them? Jack asked. Together, the hologram corrected. My creators, the predecessors, fought alone. They failed. Different approach needed. Jack looked at his crew, then back at the hologram. Does this ship have a name? Something other than Phantom? Designation. Sentinel, the hologram replied. Sentinel of the Dawn. Jack nodded. Well, Sentinel, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. As the ghost ship, no, the Sentinel, turned toward Earth, Jack knew the legend would soon change. No longer would spacers tell tales of a mysterious vessel that attacked without warning. Instead, they would speak of humanity's greatest ally against a threat from beyond the stars. The ghost ship had burned out of legend and into history, and just in time.